Yeah, students, we discussed about methods of charging. In that, the third method is method of induction, and I discussed if a glass rod is kept over here, if a glass rod is kept over here, and the sphere will acquire after grounding, the sphere will acquire negative charge. Clear? And you know, this I am calling it as primary body, this I am calling it as secondary body. Secondary body. So then what is the charge on the secondary body? Listen carefully. Charge on secondary body is given by minus of Q primary body into 1 minus 1 by K. This is the formula to identify the charge on the secondary body. Please mind it. Here minus sign says that secondary charge and primary charge both are in opposite in nature. If primary is positive, then positive into negative, secondary will be negative. If primary is negative, negative into negative, positive, secondary will be positive. Now see, whereas K, the question arises, what do you mean by K? K is called as dielectric constant. K is called as dielectric constant. Please try to understand. Once again I am saying K is called as dielectric constant. Clear? So what is its values? K value is equal to 1, approximately 1 for vacuum, and K value approximated as 80 for water, and K value is infinite for metal body. So you can understand, if it is a metal, K value is infinite, so 1 by infinite 0, right? Then for metal, for a metal, Q secondary is equal to minus Q primary. Q secondary is equal to minus Q primary. Clear? Both are equal and opposite. And here, the good line of thinking, the golden line is, the primary charge won't decrease. Still, you have your glass rod in your hand with the same charge. But whereas in the previous case, if you see carefully, in the previous case, due to the contact, primary charge decreased. So that is the reason why conduction is not at all suitable to charge several bodies. So induction is the best process. Clear? And remember one more line. During grounding, clear? Before just closing the switch, when I keep the glass rod here, it is very clear. All the electrons will come this side, protons will come that side. That is called as polarization. That is called as what? Polarization, setting them in one particular direction. Okay, done. So this is all about methods of charging. So we are continuing with a great level of extension called as Coulomb's law. We will see that. But I have small questions. Very, very important questions. Two similar charged bodies always repel. Two similar charged bodies always repel. So answers are like in theory questions they will ask you which of the following is correct statement or incorrect statement. Listen carefully. Two similar charged bodies always repel. As I discussed, positive, similar charge, negative, similar charge, they will repel. Right? They will repel. But there is a lot of difference here. Answer quite obviously. Anybody else? Speak out please. Two similar charged bodies always repel. Everybody, in my whole and total experience, every student will say obviously answer is correct, answer is true. But there is a slap on the student's face with the subject side, answer is false. Answer is what? False. Why? As I said, two similar charged bodies will repel. But I mean it, I didn't say always. How come? Suppose, if this is a body of charge 10,000 coulomb, very heavy charge, and if this is a body of charge 1 microcoulomb, 10 power minus 6, and if you see this 10,000 microcoulomb is much more greater than this. In this situation, due to induction, this side, this is positively charged, this side whole negative, and more negative will come and sit over here. And you see the gap, this side obviously positive, you see the gap, this will be less gap, more attractive, you know that, and this side more gap. And you have to understand here attractive forces between them, attraction dominates. Attraction dominates. Obviously this statement is wrong answer. Two similar charged bodies always repel is the wrong answer. Right? Then what was the correct answer? Two similar charged bodies can attract. True. Please try to understand whenever you are reading the question. In that question, whether point charge is given or body is given, you should be identifying. If the same question, two similar point charges always repel. True or false? Come again. Two similar point charges always repel. Then what is the answer? It was so clear. Answer is true. There may be a confusion, but don't get confused. Round up this. For bodies, induction can take place. Induction. But for point charges, no induction. Hence, always ripple. Point charges does not participate in the process of induction. Hence, two similar point charges always ripple. But of course, for bodies it may happen. Copy it. Now we will move on to the next topic, which is Coulomb's law, and we will do the problems. Before handling, what do you mean by point charge? What do you mean by point charge? Point charge is like Q, but remember, my straightforward question is to all of you, whether my palm is bigger. See, my palm is bigger. Like people used to come and say, "Na, vote for Congress or vote for BJP," whatever it may be. So this is my palm. Whether my palm is bigger or the board is bigger. What is your answer? Once again, whether my palm is bigger or the board is bigger. Obviously, yes, obviously the board is bigger. But there is one more line. Now I am standing in front of the board and somebody putting my hand in front of my eyes and they are asking which one is bigger? Which one is bigger? Palm or the board? What to say? Palm is bigger because I am not able to see the board like infinite sheet. When I bring close enough the palm to your eye, then you can't see anything. That means, yes, palm is bigger than the board. How come? It depends on the reference. It depends on the reference from where you are seeing. In the same way, definition of point charge says that if this is R is the radius, or I can say 2R is the size of the body, and you are seeing this body from such a far distance, which is R greater than size. Like I am watching the cricket match and batsman is hitting the ball. Clear? That ball when he hits, it will travel out of the boundary, even out of the stadium sometimes. If the distance traveled by that ball is very much greater than the size of the ball, then that ball is treated as point mass. Similarly, if this R is much more greater than the size, then with respect to point P, with respect to P, the body is treated as point charge. You understood? I hope so. So from how long you are seeing that object, like an aeroplane, if you see close enough, such a big one, I can't say it as a point. But when an aeroplane is flying in the sky, it seems to be like very small, like an ant size. That time you can say it as a point object. Gottaitama? Understood? So this is what you can understand. So remember, point charge means any irregular shaped body. It may be sphere or disc or square or cube, but if the size is very much lesser than the distance compared, then we can call it as point object. Similarly, point charge. Okay, let it be. Now coming to Coulomb's law. Put the heading. Coulomb's law. A very, very important question for 4 marks or on board level, and important question for objective. So let us discuss, revise the thing. Once we will revise the thing, what Coulomb's law said. But beforehand, as I discussed, do you remember in the last class I said that whenever law is there, validity is there. This is the mandatory. Whenever the law is there, validity is there. Valid for point charges, valid for charge distribution, clear? Valid for charge distribution and valid. You know, point charges means size should be less than the distance. You know that. Clear? When the size is less than the distance of the point where we are going to see. Clear? And it is valid for greater than 1 Fermi. Because inside 1 Fermi, it comes under nucleus distance. Matlab nuclear size. Gottaita? Nuclear size is about 1 Fermi. When you go into the nucleus, proton will attract. But Coulomb's law says that two positively charged bodies should repel. But there it is attraction. So this is the master stroke for the Coulomb, where it was not valid. So if it is less than 1 Fermi, we can't. Okay, done? What Coulomb said? Coulomb said that if we take two charges, say Q1, say Q2, these two charges separated by a distance R, then either the force of attraction, you see, if I say this is plus, if I say this is plus, obviously when I leave them like this, they will repel, right? Because two similar point charges will repel. How come? This Q1 will throw that, will push that Q2 away from it. So this is the force acting on 2 by 1. And coming to this line, similarly, for every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. This will be pushed in this direction. By that, this is force acting on 1 by 2. Clear? Force acting on 1 by 2. Done. So for every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. Okay? So what he says? He says that it is directly proportional to the product of the charges. Directly proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance of separation. This separated by distance are square of the distance. And you know, of course, it was taught in board level, F is equal to proportionality constant. I have to keep 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square. Clear? Now see, this is called as Coulomb's constant, which is represented by small k. Please mind it, in the last topic we discussed about dielectric constant, which is capital K. But this is small k, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. So hence, we can write this expression as K Q1 Q2 upon R square. Clear? K Q1 Q2 upon R square. So let us see. What is epsilon naught? Exactly speaking, what is this value? This value is 9 into 10 power 9. The whole value 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Remember, value is 9 into 10 power 9. What about epsilon naught value? Epsilon naught value is 8.85 into 10 power minus 12. And the major concern, they will ask you, comparing in with first year syllabus, find the dimensional formula of epsilon naught. What is epsilon naught? Epsilon naught, remember, epsilon is called as permittivity. Permit, to allow. It's a medium property. If somebody is coming late, they will ask me the permission. Sir, may I get in? So I am the authority here. So I will give permission, yes, come in. Like that, medium will have a permission. Permittivity is a property of the medium to allow the field lines into it. So this is permittivity. But mind it, if I write here not, if I write here not, it means that permittivity of free space. Not, nothing is there. Free space, vacuum or air, you can say. Clear? This is the value of that. You may think, sir, if suppose medium is there, yes, I do agree. Then you have to write epsilon m. You have to write epsilon m. What do you mean by epsilon m? Very simple, permittivity of the medium. So it is very clear, net force changes when the medium changes, but the nature of the force won't change. because nature of the force depends on Q1 Q2 product. If Q1 Q2 greater than 0, repulsive, less than 0, attractive. Even the medium is there, nature won't change. But the net force will change when medium changes. So, yep, you can write it down. Kutaitama, understood? Copy. Done? Yes? Now let us see. Now, you know Newton's universal of gravitation. F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. Right? Please remember, those who learn this electrostatics well, then almost 80% of the topics, 80% of the problems and formulas will be in your golden hand if you know electrostatics very well, because electrostatics is analogous to gravitation lesson. Remember this. So gravitation, no need to revise once again if you revise properly the electrostatics chapter, because in electrostatics, what is the force? K Q1 Q2 by r square. Clear? Both are under inverse square, but there the product is m1 m2, here the product is q1 q2. There the constant is, universal gravitation constant 6.65, right, or 6.6 you can say into 10 power minus 11, whereas k 9 into 10 power 9, both are analogous. But this force either repulsive or attractive. Coming to this force, gravitational force is always attractive. So this is always attractive. Clear? Because you can see, if I drop a chalk, it was coming down. Yes, it was coming down. Always attractive. Right? But QQ, positive, repel, positive, negative will attract. So this is either repulsive or attractive. Then the common property is both obeys inverse square law. Both. Clear? Now let us discuss vectorially. A small line, vectorially. So when I want to discuss Coulomb's law vectorially, take a fixed point which is origin, and this is the charge Q1 kept at R1 distance. And this is other charge kept at R2 distance, and the separation between them, let me say R bar. Now I can write, I hope everybody knows this, from triangle of vectors. If you see carefully, If this is P bar, if this is Q bar, they must be in order. And this should be R bar. You know order? Head of one vector should be joined with tail of another vector. It's like H plus T is the rule. Or people may say order, they are in order. I used to say, for better understanding, High Court order, order, like that. When head is connected with the tail, you should say they are in order. Then only you can add. So you see, this is triangular. The resultant should be in the reverse order, you know that, and you know very well. R bar can be written as P bar plus Q bar. So in the same way, you see the triangle. Yes, here to here, both are in order. Then I can climb like this. R1 bar minus R bar is equal to R2 bar. I want the gap. I want the gap between them. So R bar is equal to R2 bar minus R1 bar. Yes, absolutely fine. Right? So R bar is equal to R2 bar minus R1 bar. Yes. Now, what is Coulomb's law? F is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square. But I want vectorially along with the direction. So I am multiplying with R cap. To know the direction, you have to multiply with the unit vector. You know that in your first year it has been taught. To know the direction, you have to multiply with unit vector. You may think once, why? My straightforward question is, why you have to multiply with unit vector? Okay. Think once. Yes, R cap is the unit vector, magnitude is 1. So if you multiply with 1, this value won't change. But we are adding direction. That is why we are multiplying with R cap. What is R cap? R cap can be written as R bar by mod R bar. You know? Unit vector definition by the formula. Hence, I can write Coulomb's law as F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon, this is already R, this is already R square, hence it is R cube into R bar. So this is Coulomb's law in vector format, by using triangle of vector addition. Clear? So let us start and solve the problems in board level and in NEET level and in JEE level. So let us start then. Till then copy. Suppose if these two charges are kept in a medium, then I should write in medium 1 by 4 pi epsilon m q1 q2 by r cube into r bar. But please mind it, there is one more relation which is called as epsilon r. Epsilon r is called as relative permittivity. Relative means comparison. Like relative density, do you remember? In the same way, relative permittivity is also called as mathematically dielectric constant, which is equal to epsilon medium by epsilon naught. Hence, I can change this formula as Fm. is equal to, instead of epsilon m, I can write it as k into epsilon naught. Mind it is capital K, not small k. So 1 upon, instead of epsilon m, I can substitute 1 upon 4 pi capital K epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square into R bar. That's all for the story. Now see, I can keep it out 1 by k. Remaining, if you check it out carefully, 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square into R bar is nothing but F. Is nothing but F. Yes, this is R cube, is nothing but F. So I can directly write Fm is equal to F by K. If it is water, K value is 80 and hence force decreased by 80 times. So this is how we can relate medium versus air. Copy. Is done? Yes, thank you. We will see now the problems. The question is, find the minimum force, acting between 2 point charges separated by separated by 1 meter distance. Separated by 1 meter distance. You have to understand that whenever they say minimum, yes, of course, it is the least priority. Point charges. In your golden hand, you have minimum point charge, that is called as, yes, think of it, getting anything charge. Yes, quantization principle, do you remember? Q is equal to N into E. Why they multiplied with E only? Because that was the minimum charge. That's all. So now we can go ahead. So this here is 1 electron, here is 1 electron, which in the question they said those are point charges. Understood? Guttaitama? So they are separated by a distance 1 meter. That's all the story reveals. What? Formula? What is the force? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. Substitute the values. You will get, here it is 9 into 10 power 9. Here it is 1 square. Of course, you got the value as 9 into 10 power 9 into minus plus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 whole square, because e into e is square. Clear? And now the final answer will be 2.303 into 10 power, yes. I am leaving for you 10 power how much, you have to check it out, into Newton. I said I am leaving for you. Multiply and do it. So this is how very simple formulas questions they will ask you. But generally in my experience, sir, charges not given, minimum fourth as, only distance given, students will stuck. But listen, starting, you have to stuck. Starting, you have to face the problem. Then only you will come to know that you are reading. You are understanding something that you don't know. That means you have to read more. Understood? It doesn't mean when I taught you did 10 problems at a stretch, it doesn't mean I am a good teacher. I feel that. Remember this. Because always how many questions you are doing wrong, then that means you have to learn a lot. Before the exam, you please try to do new questions, not as it is in the book. Some questions are given, only those questions practicing, not at all good. Physics subject won't come until and unless you practice different styles of problems. Board question paper done, previous year question papers done, our material done, go for other material. It doesn't mean revision you have to do same thing. No. For competitive level, how many problems you do, that much subject you will gain. Please mind it. Okay, done? Yes? The next question we will do. Before handling that, the concept is, when there are a group of point charges, like a group of students are there. So here is 1 point charge, here is 1 point charge, here is 1 point charge. Let me take 3 for your better understanding. Q1, Q2, Q3. Of course, all are positive. Now tell me, when group of point charges are there, what is the net charge acting on one by other? Yes. So always this force is the central force. Drop a line joining their centrals. Clear? Now please try to understand what they are asking. What they are asking? Group of point charges are there. What is the net force acting on any one of the charge? Yes. Let us go for 3. Assuming this is fixed. Clear? Now, this Q1 will push this Q3 down. Hence, this is the force acting on 3 by 1. Force acting on 3 by 1. Yes, similarly, 2 will push this 3 down. Because both are positive, repulsive. Yes. There are 2 forces acting on that. So, where is the resultant? No more question. Resultant will be like this. This is called as F resultant. So finally this will move in this direction. Don't feel about the gravity. This is not in vertical plane, this is on horizontal plane. I kept like on your bench how you are keeping the books. Otherwise when I keep like this, due to mg it will fall down. So not like that, it is on the floor, here and here. Please make it sure. Understood? So this is the net force. What is the net force? Net force is nothing but sum of force acting on 3 by 1 plus force acting on 3 by 2. This is the resultant. I hope all of you understood. Whenever two more forces are acting, you should add them vectorially, which people may call it as superposition principle. Superposition. And this is for both vectors as well as scalars. Mind it. Copy it down. So let me teach you some basics which you had been already studied in your first year, but please concentrate on the basics, because always basics are very important. So basics to do the problems, right? Let us start. The first basic line, if somebody is pulling this ball in this direction with 10 newtons, in this direction with 5 newtons, please consider this is not at all a vertical plane. I am holding everything on a horizontal plane. Imagine like that. Otherwise, this ball, due to gravity, it will fall down. I am not showing like that. I am keeping on the desk. So this side force is 10, this side force is 5 newtons. So obviously, ball has 2 ways to move, 3 ways to move. Either 1 or 2 or 3. Which way? Any guessing? Anybody else? Yes, absolutely correct. Guessing will be 1. Because more the force, more the resultant. Hence, resultant will be like this. You have to understand this. Initially, this angle, if I say theta between P and Q, listen carefully, then this angle is alpha, which is less than theta by 2. This is what sometimes when you take the book to the faculty, he will say directly without doing anything, this is the answer. Students will surprise. How come? We use basics. That is what I am going to teach you, to listen carefully. Suppose this is 10 newtons, this is 10 newtons. Obviously, if this is theta, then tell me where is the resultant? Resultant is exactly like this, which is called as bisector. So this will be alpha, this will be beta, but both will be theta by 2. I hope now you understood why I wrote here less than theta by 2, because more the force, more the closeness. So theta by 2 is here, but it is less than theta by 2. And this is beta, which is greater than theta by 2. So this is how we will analyze. This is how we will analyze the questions. All of you understood? Now straightforward one question. Let me tell you. This is 10 newtons. This is 6 newtons. Angle between them is 60 degrees. Clear? And you know, first option given, this is the resultant, they said, resultant. And they are not talking about resultant. Resultant with alpha. This alpha they said 30 degrees. Second option 40 degrees. Alpha is equal to how much? Alpha is 2 and L3. So 30 degrees, 40 degrees. Then this is 15 degrees. Then this will be, clear all of you? Fourth option will be none of these. Tell me which option is correct. Faculty will see answer is less than theta by 2. None of these is less than theta by 2. Answer is this. If I say without taking these values, let me say 6 or let me say like this. This is P, this is Q, and if I say P is less than Q, like that. Like this, if information is given, P less than Q, P is less, Q is more, then what is alpha? Then if I say this is 15, if I say this is 55, then you see, your guessing is almost right. Because alpha should be close to Q and alpha should be less than theta by 2, which is equal to 30 degrees. So alpha should be less than 30. Right? Because you can see when they are both are equal, then bisector equally the angle will divide. But if one is more, it should be close enough. That means it is less than theta by 2. That means it is less than 30. That means it should be 15. The faculty will guess the answer like this. So what do you understood from the basics? It is so very clear. It is so very clear. Always the resultant is close to the bigger vector. Clear? So next class we will engage with the new problems. Thank you. Till then, happy practice.